I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I suck at design. Every time I start a new project, I try to wing the design as I go and end up with something that usually looks like this. If you're a React developer like me, I'm certain you felt this pain before. You've gotten good at React, TypeScript, and everything you need to be a good developer, but you are not a graphic designer. So every time you work on a project by yourself, you're left with a site that looks horrible and doesn't flow well. This pain might finally be over. I've been messing around with a new tool released by Anthropic called Claude Design, and I want to show you how I've been able to develop entire projects in minutes. I promise you, you don't want to miss this. First of all, what is Claude Design? Claude Design, like Claude Code, falls under the Claude umbrella of Anthropic tools. Claude Design is a chat interface with Claude that can create designs for web apps or anything else. You tell it what you want your app to do, it will generate an entire UI for your app. Everything from colors to spacing to page layouts to an entire design system, it will do it all for you. Let me show you. The URL for Claude Design is claude.ai/design. When you're there, you're met with a page that looks like this. To make a new project, I can go on the left here, type something like my project, make sure high fidelity is selected, and click create. Once you're here, this is where the magic happens. The chat interface on the left is where you can give all the context for Claude to start designing your app. The way I started is just by typing in the chat. In the chat, here is a sample prompt that I might type. So I said we're making a dashboard for solo freelancers to manage their client work in one place. We're going to be tracking active projects, logged hours, invoices, stuff like that. We want to have a separate client-facing portal where freelancers can share project status, deliverables, and invoices with each client that they have. In terms of overall visual direction, I just gave it a simple idea. It should be refined, warm, not flashy, open to color ideas. And then I just gave the visual stack that I want to adhere to. So normally I'll give it something like these three things. A few sentences about what the app actually is, then usually something giving some direction for the color or just the overall visual tone. And then I always put the specific tools that I want to use. So for this project, I'm saying I want to use ShadCN, I want to use Tailwind, and I want to use Lucid Icons. When I'm giving the visual stack right here, I want to make a point that I am not giving the entire React stack, but just everything that has visual weight. ShadCN, Tailwind, and Lucid Icons are all visual aspects, so if we want to use those for this app, Claude Design needs to know about them. Claude Design is not Claude Code. You should not give it every single tool here and every single library you want to use. Just focus on the visual ones that will affect the UI, usually all CSS related. With this prompt, let's see what it spits out whenever I press enter. In your prompt, if you want to go very in detail about your app, like how every specific page looks or a super specific color palette, go for it. I'm leaving mine open-ended just to see what it does, but if you already know what you want, get as specific as you need. Because I left mine pretty open-ended, you can see it asks me a couple of questions here. So we can quickly just go through each one. I'll just kind of click through these fast. I'll say for the color direction, we want a stone ink navy. Typography, let's just do one of these. Build out fully, let's say the dashboard fully, and then the project list. Let's go ahead and go click a little prototype here. How should I present this? Let's go ahead and say decide for me on this one. Who's the freelancer persona? Also decide for me. How many active clients? Go ahead and say 5. And then on the rest of these, we'll just go ahead and say decide for me. So decide for me on all these. Novelty appetite, we'll say mostly ShadCN. Anything else? No, not really. So let's go ahead and click continue. Once we've answered all the questions, we can go ahead. Usually it will take a few minutes for Claude to cook, so let's come back in a few. After about 5 minutes of running, lo and behold, this is the result that Claude Design spit out. This right here is the main dashboard page. I can go through some of these links on the side. Like we can look at the projects page that each have these filters on this table. We even have a way to search, a way to filter, do table or board view. And as you can see, we have quite a few features here. We see this time page is not quite done yet. We got this invoices page. And we got this clients page also not really done yet. Then we can go to each individual client view and we have pages that look like this. So when I said I wanted a view for each individual client, this is the page that we're talking about. For something that I spit out with a small prompt in about 5 minutes, this is really, really good. You'll notice, as with any AI tool, not everything is perfect right off the bat. As you can see here, the text in the table here is not really spaced properly. You can see this 62% with this 47.5, they're almost touching. But that's a very minor nitpick that can be fixed super easily. So notice, looking at the top here, we are looking at index.html. However, there's this other tab up here called design files. And if we go to this, we can actually see the files that it generated. Index.html is usually the site that you're actually looking at, and then you always have a source folder that's going to have the actual code files. We've got a couple of files here, probably just one per main component. So let's go ahead and click into app.jsx, for example, and we can see the code for it looks something like this. In my experience, if you don't tell it otherwise, it will default to React and JavaScript. If that's not what you want, don't worry about it yet at this design step. But we can see clearly ours is React because it's using react.useState, and we're actually calling this react.dom.createRoot, and we're rendering the app here. So this is not how a proper actual Vite React app is structured, but you can see it is using React, at least for the skeleton. Okay, so now you're probably wondering, so we have this site here that has, for the most part, a pretty fleshed out design, but we have these files that are not quite fully cooked React. It's kind of half-baked, not really any sort of framework, and as much as it looks good, this React that we have within this code is not entirely workable. So what's next? Well, what Claude Design has done for us is made a bunch of decisions on how the app should look and or flow, has generated the skeleton source code for its own design, and spits out the index to HTML, so we can just see the output. However, this is not where Claude Design stops though. That was just the initial creation step. One of the things you can do with Claude Design is really nail down the visual look. For example, let's go back to our index.html, and let's say that I don't really like that there's not really many accent colors, right? There's a lot of kind of just black on this page, black and white, and it looks a little bit bland. So I'll just go into the chat down here in the bottom left and say exactly that. I'll say, right now the site is mostly black and white, looks a bit bland. Go ahead and add some accent colors that fit the visual feel. Go ahead and press enter here. And once we do this, it'll iterate over what we just said and try to find fixes and update the design. Once we let it run for a few minutes, it just updated the design. So nothing crazy, but as you can see up here, kind of in the top right, we now have these kind of warm yellow, orange, and green colors instead of just the plain look. If I scroll down a bit more, you can see now these tags have these colors here. And I'm sure on these other pages we have, you can see these dots here are now going with those accent colors. So we've added a little bit more personality to the site. That's an example of a very minor tweak, but we can really change whatever we want in here. If I wanted these top cards to be in a column instead of a row, we could do that. If I wanted these buttons gone, we could do that. Pretty much anything here is up for grabs. We can change whatever we want. But the question is, now what? We've got a nice looking project here, but again, it's all in JSX files and looks nothing like the typical project that I'd work with in TypeScript, React, Vite, and all of that. So what do we now do with this design? The design does not have to be perfect yet, but once you have a design that's relatively fleshed out, go up to the top right here and click this share button. It should open up this dropdown. There's a couple of options here. Feel free to export it however you like. If the design is all you want, then just download in whatever way you'd like. But I promise building an actual project with this design. So let me show you something really cool. I'm going to select handoff to Claude Code, and it will give us this modal right here. I'm going to go ahead and copy this command. Now let's head on over to VS Code. I went ahead and created a new repository and just ran this command here to scaffold a basic project that uses TanStack router. It's got React, TypeScript, Vite, and all the essentials already set up. If you look in the file explorer here, you can see that we have a routes folder. This is for TanStack router. And then we have our TSX files that actually render just like any normal React Vite project. If you are familiar with Claude Code, you know you can use a claude.md file. So I've gone ahead and made one in this empty project. This is a super basic template that I just generated. We could add more here if you wanted to, but I'm keeping mine pretty simple. It's really only got a couple of things. The most important part is that we're outlining the actual stack that we want. So I'm saying things like React 19, Vite, TypeScript, TanStack, and you get the idea. Then we just have a couple of patterns to follow. Again, this is auto-generated. And then we have a couple of commands to actually run. This stack right here is a comfortable stack for me. So this is what I like to work with. If your stack is different from this, that is completely fine. Does not matter if it's React, Vue, Svelte, whatever, just make sure you properly outline your stack. With this now, what we can do is we can open up Claude Code and paste in the command earlier that we copied from Claude Design. So we already have some text here just saying fetch this design file, read its readme, and implement the relevant aspects of the design. This should by itself be fine because it will reference Claude MD, but just to make sure, I'm going to have a explicit note that says ensure the project conforms to the stack outlined in Claude MD. Press enter, and let's let Claude cook. I let Claude Code run for a few minutes. Let's see what it spit out. If we look in the file explorer here, we can see that we have a couple of different things. We have a components folder with UI, so all of our stuff from shadcn, and we have a couple of our own custom components, like this icon and the sidebar. We got this lib folder with some more TypeScript stuff. We got our routes with our main pages. If we go into our app here, you can see we have like the clients page, the invoices page, and you get the idea. So Claude Code essentially took our design and translated it into an actual stack that we want to work with. Let's go ahead and start the dev server and see what it actually looks like. Bada bang, bada boom, this is the actual app that is running on localhost. It's the exact design we created with Claude Design, essentially a carbon copy. But this is not just skeleton code, it's actual code using React, TypeScript, and everything that we like. We have our main dashboard page here, of course. We have our projects page where we can go through and filter out each table, and literally a carbon copy of what the design showed. If we head on over to the client portal, we can see this is an individual client page. We have everything we had in the design, all these fields, all the information, all the cards. Everything is just as Claude Design planned. This right here is the power of combining Claude Design with an agentic tool like Claude Code. And before anyone says something like, oh, well, there's no tests written and this isn't a full stack project or even production ready, I want to again reiterate the intent of Claude Design plus Claude Code in the way that I use it. It is not to completely just one-shot an app and make it ready to deploy in 5 minutes. Rather, it's an amazing tool for non-designers like me that know what tech stack they want a project in and know the starting point and just want to get something up and running to iterate quickly. I promise you, if I would have tried to design all of these pages right here from scratch, no design tool, no agentic coding or anything, it would have taken me a couple of hours at the very least, and it would have looked probably 10 times worse. The combination of these two tools, that being Claude Design and Claude Code, makes starting on new projects and getting something up and running absolutely cake. I've gotten so stumped before on designs I just don't have the talent for, and using a tool like Claude Design completely removes that headache of trying to figure it out. Before I end this video, I need to make a few disclaimers about Claude Design. First of all, this is a paid tool. I am personally on the Claude Max plan, but Claude Design is accessible on the Claude Pro plan, which is the $20 a month as well. It is not available on the free tier. I am not affiliated with Anthropic in any way, and I am in no way trying to push some hidden AI agenda about replacing devs or designers or anything like that. A lot of people make assumptions when it comes to people talking about AI, so I just want to make sure we're all on the same page with this. With all these points in mind, plus the demo I showed you, I'd highly encourage you to check out Claude Design. I've been messing around with it a ton recently, and I really like what it's been able to do for me. If you've got at least 20 bucks a month lying around and want to try it out, go for it. I promise you, you won't regret it. With that being said, I hope you guys found this video helpful or interesting. Let me know your thoughts about it in the comments. This is a brand new tool and I am by no means a pro at using it. So if you have creative ways to maybe save tokens or have this design output something even better, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to learn more about it. Take care everyone, and I'll see you in the next one.